Well, welcome, guys. Appreciate you taking the time to sit with us and learn a little more about our new colorscaping, smart landscape transformer, smart fixture system. Some of you know, or at this point, I think everyone on the call maybe knows a little bit about the ecosystem we're building here. We're building off our past developments. Obviously got into landscape in 2018, and we've been learning from that. We've also had a lot of smart technology initiatives since 2018 in other product categories, and we have now learned all the hard lessons from that and put them to good use in developing colorscaping. That being said, it's still, I think some of you guys know, you were probably expecting this last year, and it didn't happen. And that's because this is by far the most tested product we have, smart product we have in WAC in the market. We tested this an extra year just to make sure that we had actually worked out all the issues we could find, which we did find and we did fix, but that cost us another 6 months for one of them, and then another 2 months for another one. So, but all of those are to your benefit. So yes, sorry it took this long, but we're not sorry in the sense that hopefully you'll appreciate the fact that this should be a much one of the most reliable products that you're that you'll come across in the landscape world. All right. So that being said, we'll start with what are the three, like to call this a three-legged stool. So what are the three things that make this product what it is and what's special and different? So first thing is, the three pieces of it is obviously the smart transformer, which, then there's certain things that you can do on the transformer, and then there's certain things that you require an app. And then also the fixtures have to be smart in order to talk to the smart technology in the smart transformer. So just a few high points. Michael will get into more details later, but just some high points is that the transformer itself, the best part about it is it does look like any other transformer until you open the lid. But if you just stay with that picture for now, is at a very basic start. Like if you were going into an existing place, you could literally take everything that they've got. Like that's the whole idea. Is you don't have to talk about smart fixtures, nothing else. You could just say, hey, what if I give you app control and dimming, and you could basically install this transformer in place of the existing one, and then you could basically at that point use the same wiring that you already have in place into this transformer, and you automatically have have some kind of a smart ecosystem. And then you can get on with the step of let's see if we can replace some fixtures. So that's one way to do it, retrofit. It's very easy to be retrofitted. And then obviously for doing new installs, it's even better because at that point you're just buying into the whole ecosystem, so it's going to flow much more smoother. So like I said, we use existing landscape wiring. So your 14 by 2, 10 by 2, 12 by 2, whatever you're used to using right now, you can use the same exact wire, unshielded. And we've done all the hard work in terms of making sure that we can we use the 2-wire, but for power, but we superimpose that with what's basically PLC technology, power line technology. And what that means for you is no running of extra wires, and you also get the reliable, robust connection of having your fixtures physically wired to the colorscaping transformer. So that's the big benefit. And then your transformer itself is communicating. You can control it, via the cloud, app, even a wall controller if you like so. And so that would be like any other smart product in your home that you would connect to your Wi-Fi network, or you could even run an Ethernet cable. Coming to the app, so we have a new app, or we've had it for a year, called the MyWAC. For those of you, when you download it, you'll see when you try to add a device, you're going to see the option to add colorscaping. So that was obviously just introduced as of a few weeks ago. And in that, you can do everything you're used to. I would assume that most of the audience here The most critical thing for you guys is to be able to go set up a schedule. And so you can do that with this. You could do individual fixture control. You can create groups of fixtures, and then you can start creating scenes using those fixtures and groups, basically automating your lights. And then your schedule is basically is taking those automations and then creating schedules. And you can turn them on, off. You can also use. We also ask for your zip code in the beginning when you're defining your location, and that's not to spy on you. I mean, even if we did, we wouldn't know what to do with that information. But that's mainly to get your astronomical timing. So we use that zip code to figure out your sunset sunrise times. And what that means is that in your scheduling, you can basically do offsets or have your lights triggered on or off exactly at the sunrise sunset times. And then coming to the fixtures, there's I guess three important things. One is the same fixture. It's all RGB WW, which means you get full tunable spectrum from 2700 Kelvin to 6500. So all the way from what you're used to on the lower end, but then pretty much all the way up to moonlight as well. So now you can get those nice subtle hues of cool white, creating downlighting, creating a nice smooth effect. And then you also have obviously individual fixture control. Every smart fixture has its own unique address, which basically means that we can tell it what to do separate from another fixture. So you can program them any way you want, any permutation combination that you can think of, you can do that. And then the third thing, the most important thing, maybe a little unsung, but we have found by talking to, folks that this is something that's very important, is that everyone is probably used to setting their taps. So they go look at their taps. It says 18, 17, 16, 15. And then, you essentially are deciding, okay, that fixture is going to be 200 feet away. This one's 50 feet away. So the 50 feet one goes to the 15. The 200 feet goes to 18. Or you just basically do your voltage drop calculations. The thing that we've innovated here is that the fixture itself is so smart that it figures out its own voltage drop. So let's say I put it 200 feet away. The fixture is going to continue working all the way down to about 9 volts AC. I say 10 volts just to be safe. So from 10 to 15 volts, it's going to work, and it's going to basically keep the lumens constant. What that means is that if we advertise to you that this fixture can put out 1,000 lumens, that's 1,000 lumens, whether it's at 10 volts or 15 volts. So what that means for you is that you just have to calculate your maximum length, and those are obviously, we can provide that for you depending on the gauge of wire you're using. You can predetermine what's the maximum length you can take, and then each of the taps on the transformer is 15 volts, and the fixture is the one that's going to figure out what the voltage drop is, and it's the one that's going to decide how to compensate its lumens. So I think that's something important, would hopefully make your lives a little easier and save you time in the installation. We'll move ahead. All right, and then here's our fixture. Our whole family of fixtures. We didn't just come out with one or two. This wasn't some experiment in a garage. We came up with. We're so confident in this product that we came up with a whole host of, path lighting, sconce, different kinds of accents, including a completely new product or category you're not used to. If you look at this whole thing and you say, like, what are the odd things out? I guess you'll pick out two things. The odd ducks are maybe not as pretty, maybe a little ugly, but it is. I'll tell you, it's the most powerful luminaire we have in landscape. It's a power accent. And it doesn't get the usual beam adjustability as the other ones, because we're optimizing that to put out as many lumens we can, and not necessarily in the white, but in the red, green and blue spectrum. So that's more vibrant colors. And there's 4 screws in the back that you pop out, and then you can basically replace the lens. Everything else is what you're used to, where you have adjustable beam. And then the other thing that's new as well is the tape. We have new tape that, there's a little controller that converts, 15 volts AC tap to 24 volts DC, and then you can connect tape to the end of it. And light up other features. Slide, Michael. All right, and then Michael, I think if I just keep talking, I'll just go for hours. So I should.
Yeah, no worries. I'm gonna take a step back. Yeah. And I'm just gonna, the fixtures. This, and I apologize, the pups. Apparently, there's an Amazon driver here to kill us. But the fixtures themselves. This didn't start out with a portfolio of 13 fixtures that you see here. This started out as a replacement for our ill-loved former color change landscape product. But through feedback from folks like yourselves over the course of that year and a half that we were developing this product, we were able to expand this portfolio from three fixtures to the 13 that you see up here. And we have everything from our standard accent to the grand accent, the power accent, which Suman just mentioned, up over north of 1,100 lumens coming out of that in both the white and the red colors, dropping down to around 700 in the green and I believe 600-ish or 500 in the blue. So you're getting significantly more light output in the color spectrum than you would get in the grand accent. The white and red, broadly similar across the two, but if you just need something that's extremely high output, this is definitely going to fit that model. Our wall wash fixture looks very similar to the previous one. Still casts that beautiful light up on a wall. Our one version of the in-ground here, we have 3 path lights that we have launched this product suite with. I was lucky enough to be on the road with the product last week with Adam in the northern central part of the country. We were asked the question a couple of times on the path fixtures, is this the extent of it? Is this where we're ending? And the answer to that is broadly no. This is just a starting point for us. What we need feedback from the field. We need feedback from you as to which fixtures are going to hit in your market. And if these designs are, if there's a design that you particularly want, please let us know. So we also have the 2 versions of hardscape, a 7-inch and a 12-inch hardscape fixture. The cylinder, which this does shoot an up and a down. And by default, it does both. So just a heads up there, by default, it does an uplight and a downlight. However, it is configurable to be an uplight or a downlight. You can actually change that in the app. And thank you for the bollard suggestion. That was very similar to what we've heard in the past. But just to double tap on a couple things Suman said, these are all standard 2-wire fixtures. There is no additional data wire, and there is not wireless communication with these fixtures. We're communicating with the fixtures on those same 2 wires. You can use, if you have existing wire in the ground, so long as you stay within that voltage drop range, so long as you stay kind of north of that 10-volt line at the end of that run, you can simply swap out these fixtures for the legacy fixtures that are out there and gain all the advantages of the product suite itself. Another point, the vast majority of these are available in either the aluminum in 2 finishes, a black or a bronze. And many of them are available in bronze over brass. So if you have those extreme environments to deal with, we do offer those in that fixtures as well, in the solid brass. You can also see the tape up here. The tape was, I would say, a last-minute add. It actually is something that was in the roadmap. But that tape is available in 1 foot, 5 foot, 10 foot, 15 foot, and 25 foot lengths. And you can drive up to 25 feet of it off of one of the small control boxes that Suman mentioned. I think we have a picture of it later on. But if you need to drive more than that, you can add additional control modules all the way up to the power capabilities of the transformer. So now we'll get to the transformer at the other end. And like I said earlier, a lot of this product is based on feedback from folks like yourselves. We pride ourselves in taking, feedback from the field, taking underserved needs from the field and building it into these products. So we do have 2 versions of this transformer. There's a 150 watt and a 300 watt version of the transformer. We have gotten the feedback that larger transformers would be useful. I welcome that conversation. We have some capabilities in here that might change your mind on that. So we'll talk about that in a second here. But we do have 150 and 300 watt versions that does use the existing landscape wiring. When you open up the transformer, and you can't really see it in this picture, But down here, we have our taps. We've gone with the lever style taps over the screw taps. That's just to help you on the installation side and make things easier. They are very robust. They're actually mechanically attached as well. Some folks brought that up last week that, are these rugged enough to take, the abuse that'll get in the field. I assure you they're very ruggedly attached to that backer. I've bashed my fair share of knuckles on them, connecting them. But we do have 2 zones of control within the Colorscaping transformer. So over here, these taps on the left-hand side, there's actually, this is zone 1. So you've got your 15-volt AC and data, and then you have your commons here in the center. And then you have zone 2, which is kind of obscured, but over here on the right is zone 2. And there's actually a label inside the transformer that you can't see here telling you that it's zone 1 and zone 2. Why do we have 2 zones? The 2 zones. Zone 1 is for our smart fixtures, primarily. Out of the box, that is where you will connect any of your WAC Colorscaping fixtures over to this side. This is the zone that we communicate with those fixtures. Zone 2, we provide for legacy fixtures. And when I say legacy fixtures, I mean any low voltage 9 to 15 volt AC landscape fixtures. I would love for them to be WAC fixtures. They don't have to be. So that zone 2 for those legacy fixtures, we give you remote on off as well as dimming for those. So if you're going to retrofit a property that already has path lights that they like and they're standard low voltage path lights, you can connect them to this transformer on zone 2, and then you get all of the same grouping, control, scheduling, scene control that you get with our Colorscaping fixtures. But with those legacy fixtures. Now, a couple of details to that. Of course, you won't get individual fixture control. They're not smart fixtures. You will be controlling them at a circuit level, but you are essentially creating smart-ish fixtures from those legacy fixtures. We do provide dimming on zone 2. So when you get in the app and you look at it, you won't see the color presets for them, but you will be able to turn them on, turn them off, and dim them. The second caveat I'll apply here, if it's not a dimmable fixture, you won't be able to dim it. If it's simply a fixture that does not allow for phase cut dimming, you'll still have the on-off, but if you try and dim it, of course, you'll see what happens when you try and dim a non-dimmable fixture. The third thing is if they are legacy WAC fixtures that have the little dial on the side to allow you to dim them at the fixture, the transformer is only going to be able to dim it up to the level of that that you set on the little wheel. So if you want full range control of those fixtures, turn them all the way up to full output, and then you can dim them here from the transformer.
Michael?
Yes, sir.
We have a comment from one of the attendees about control, and I'll turn it into a question, but would Control 4 Lutron smart home integration be available with this transformer?
Yeah. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. There's actually a couple of details to that. We are going to have a Control 4 direct IP driver, so a network-based driver for Control 4, and then the other control systems you will be able to address using the Abacus product from our Aspire partners. So Abacus is a DMX controller. You would connect it in here over to the DMX ports on the transformer here, and you would then control it from the other control systems via the DMX and Abacus.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yeah, no worries. So one last thing about the physical hardware itself. One thing you don't see in here, and this was my apologies, spoiler. And this was a lesson learned. This was one of those things that we were fortunate enough to uncover and come up with a very solid solution for from field testing. What you don't see in here and in the production transformers, there's a small metal box down here that's got a series of modular RJ45 ports on them. And what that box is, that is actually a surge protection box. And that box is there to protect the wired Ethernet, and it is there to protect the DMX ports. What we found was that in environments that are susceptible to lightning storms, that if you're running direct burial Ethernet cables for your network, you're running direct burial DMX wire, they just suck up that lightning and will take it out to both ends, and whatever's at those ends probably won't meet a lovely end. So we've incorporated that surge protection in here to give the transformer a level of protection against those transient surges. And that device is replaceable. So if you do have a lightning strike and it does damage the surge protector, there's 2 screws in the bottom of the transformer. You take it out, you put a new one in, and you're back in business. And the transformer itself is protected. So the local control panel. We do provide a control panel here in the transformer. This is really primarily for that installer. You're an installer, you're going out, you're placing fixtures, you're wiring them in, you connect them to this transformer. I want you to know that you have these wired correctly and that they are going to be usable for the next person, if it's not you that's coming along, to set the system up to configure the app. And I don't want you to have to download an app if you don't want to. If that's not your thing, I want you to be able to finish your job quickly and leave that job site. So we have the control panel here. It's on every transformer. It's a very simple control panel. It's not designed for specific, really detailed configurations. But the first thing you're going to do after you wire your fixtures in, you come over here and you're going to want to discover those fixtures. So you can see here we just have a little call out here. It says add fixtures. You're going to press and release the zone 1 button. You're going to hold down the presets button, and then I like to say you're just going to go off and get a cup of coffee. Because what's going to happen now is the transformer is going to start trying to figure out what fixtures are connected to it via that wire, and it's going to add them to its own memory. And it's going to tell those fixtures, hey, I'm the boss, you're connected to me, and it's only going to receive commands from that transformer going forward. It takes about 90 seconds. The fixtures are going to come on and go off a few times. If you're not paying attention, you may not notice. But then when you come back, you can then use this control panel to cycle all those smart fixtures through the 16 presets that are built into the transformer. And we'll talk a little bit more about presets later, but the transformer itself has 16 presets built in, and you can cycle those fixtures through those 16 preset colors. And what that will do is it will show you that not only those fixtures are getting power, but those fixtures are connected to that transformer, and the transformer is able to communicate with them over those power lines. So now you have your installation done correctly, you're wired correctly. You can then button things up and go on to your next job. We also do provide control for zone 2. So if you tap the zone 2 button, you can dim that on up or down and on or off. And then we have this output indicator. And what that is that's just going to show you an approximation of the lights that should be coming out of your fixture, what color it should be and what dimming level it should be as you're coming out of the fixture. The transformers are connectable via Wi-Fi or wired Ethernet. That's all done via our MyWAC app. The transformers have one network port on them. One piece of suggestion or one request we've seen is it possible to add an Ethernet in and an Ethernet out if you have adjacent transformers? We have a bank of transformers that happen to be adjacent to each other. We don't have that on there currently. We've taken that feedback. Another suggestion I'll put out there, and if any of you work in extreme environments, it's probably not going to come to you as new news. But I do recommend that if you're using the wired Ethernet, that you get some dielectric grease, kind of the same dielectric grease you use on your regular connections. Put a little bit on those contacts just to protect them. They are gold plated, but in extreme salt environments, it's always good to just kind of protect those connectors. And the same thing could be said for the DMX as well. I talked a little bit about the DMX and the surge protection that we have there. No, Zone 2 cannot be used for smart fixtures. I saw the comment there in the chat. However, that brings up a good point. The capacity of the transformers, the 150 and 300 watts, that is shared across those. So if you have 300 VA worth of colorscaping fixtures, you can put those all on Zone 1. And it also bodes saying that these fixtures can be wired however you choose to wire your landscape fixtures. If you want to come out of the transformer into a single conduit, run it somewhere, break it out in a J box, split it, do it as a star, do your fixtures in series, any of those work. So there really isn't a need for Zone 2 for smart fixtures. You would just wire all of those fixtures onto one of your Zone 1 terminals, and you would have control over those over there. So thank you. Great question. Keep them coming. The MyWAC app. So we launched the MyWAC app in conjunction with some of our interior tape lighting products. It's been out in the store for about a year now, to Suman's earlier point. If you guys are so inclined, you can scan the QR code that's up on the screen with your phone. That will take you out to a landing page on our WAC lighting website that gives you links to both the Apple App Store and the Android Store for the MyWAC app, so you can download that. So what do we do within the app? So within the app, what can we do that we don't have with that local control panel? So once we're in the app and we've connected that transformer to the network, we can of course individually control those fixtures. We can go in and control those fixtures, but the more powerful thing, and I think even from an end user perspective, the more powerful thing is we can group those fixtures into logical groups. We're used to seeing a circuit of path lights. You know, I can't think of a reason why I would want that path light on and not that path light, or that path light at 10%, that one at 15. You can still do that, but we have this ability to create groups. And this is when I kind of come back to the whole need for a 600 watt, 900 watt, 1200 watt transformer, and potentially the not need for that, for lack of a better way of putting it. So groups within our application, within the MyWAC app and our ecosystem, groups can be fixtures across any number of transformers. So if you have 5 transformers in a bank, all of which are controlling parts of a path, you can create one group in the app called path lights. And you can now control all those path lights as if they were one circuit. So that's on, off, dim, color selection, etc. But you have that level of control over that group of fixtures. So if you have a large property with, you know, a lot of trees, a lot of accent lighting on trees, and you have transformers kind of strewn across, so long as they're all connected to the network, you can create one group for those accent lights and control them as one thing. So that may reduce the need for multiple transformers. Understanding that sometimes there's a cost implication to having more transformers than less, but that certainly gives you, from a control perspective, the ability to do that. What it also does is it allows you to put the transformers where the transformers logically belong, instead of having to put them where you know, they are central to things. You can put them closer and kind of reduce that voltage drop that you have between the transformer and the fixtures, as opposed to kind of housing them all in one place where they have to be big long runs out to those fixtures. So the fixtures are 2700 to 6500K and full RGB support. So you can see here on the app, you see the color wheel that we show. That's great. You know, because they use that capability. We also have a color wheel for the tunable white. So you can kind of scroll through and see what you want there. But really where I come from and what I like is we have 16 presets. So within our app, within MyWAC, we have the concept of a location. And that location is what allows you to create groups on any of your transformers, and it be one group. It allows you to create lighting scenes with fixtures or groups across all those transformers and have them as one scene that you can interact with. We also have a preset palette for that location. So as you can see here, these are the 16 default presets within the app for the full color fixtures. Right now in here, we see we have 12 colors and 4 tunable white values along the bottom. Notably, I just said that the Colorscaping fixtures are only 2700 to 6500 Kelvin. You can see here we have an 1800 Kelvin. And the reason that's there is because this app supports a broader portfolio of products than just Colorscaping. And we do have tape products that go all the way down to that extremely warm 1800 Kelvin. So you'll see that here. But just be assured that if one of your users hits that 1.8 button, they're just going to get the lowest temperature that those fixtures are capable of doing. So if you have some tape out there that is capable of it, and you have Colorscaping fixtures, and you have the same ones in a group, you have both of those in a group, and you hit 1800, the landscape fixtures are going to go as low as they can, and the tape is going to go as low as it can. So these are all configurable within the app, and just keep in mind that the presets are across that location. So if you want to have your favorite sports team colors in here, you set them once for the location, and they will appear for every every color changing fixture that we make that's controlled within the app. We talked a little bit about groups for that circuit level control of those fixtures. And there's just some examples there: path lights, your wall washes, your trees, things that you want to control in that group level or at that circuit level. We do support that, as well as automation. So outside of the lighting space, I've spent the better part of 15 years in home automation, and outside the lighting space, no one knew what a scene was. So given that our app supports more than just lighting, we've taken on the term automations, but you can just think of that synonymous with a scene. And we do have the ability in the app to create those lighting scenes that can be recalled with just one tap within the app here. You can see at the top here, we have an automations tab within the app, and that's where to list out those automations that you've created. You can schedule those automations. And when we get to it, we also have a Wi-Fi wall control that allows you to recall those automations from a spot on your wall, from a switch box on your wall in the property. So, we wanted to give a touch point for people on the property that don't have access to the app, that don't want an app, that don't resonate with the app. I know I can speak specifically. I want somewhere on the wall. I expect somewhere on the wall to be able to go and do this, and that's what that Wi-Fi wall station does. And that gives you the ability to recall 4 of those automations, and then there's also an off button that's programmable as well, so you can recall an automation for that. I'll turn it back over to Suman to kind of go through the value propositions here, and I will jump in with my color commentary as we go.
It's kind of we've talked about all the different features and what the Colorscaping system offers for you. So think of this as almost like a summary, like we're trying to tell you all the different things, all the high notes that this ecosystem can do. So obviously, first thing we have is the app control. So here is one thing that maybe is different from how we do it from the other people, is that a lot of IoT companies, the way they control their communication is that, let's say I'm in my house and I've got a router somewhere in some room or a closet, and then I've got my fixture right in front of me. I send a command. I say, change the light, turn it on and off, or whatever. That communication, the path it takes is it goes to the cloud and then back to the router and then to your fixture, which, you would think that there's a more efficient way of doing that, because that's going to obviously add latency. It's going to depend on your network at that time, and it could be like a minute before something actually happens. Normally, it's not that, it doesn't take that long, but even 5 seconds would seem like too long if you're staring at the light. So our approach, because we're focused on what is in the best interest of the customer in terms of their experience. So we do both local and remote. So the way that works is that we will always prefer to do local communication, and then we will worry about updating the cloud to make sure that it is in sync with what the reality is on the ground later. So that might be 5 seconds or a minute later. If you are actually outside the house, then obviously or outside the property or the location, different Wi-Fi network or using cellular technology, then obviously we would have to communicate to the cloud. But at that point, you're not physically looking at the fixture anyway, so it's not as critical. So that's something that's important. It is very complicated to do it this way, but the user experience is so much more better. And the next thing we've got is tunable white, like I said. So 2700, you have path lights, and they have no business being in color, most of the year. You could just leave them in 3000, 35, however you please. And then, not everything has to be color, right? You could do, there's a lot of really cool, landscape jobs I've seen where you don't even know there's landscape fixtures because they're just doing moonlighting. And it's like basically every single night is a moonlit night. And I absolutely love those because they're just so subtle and, less of a look at me versus more of just creating that scene. It's not about the fixture. It's just about the ambiance in the area. So you could absolutely do that with the 6500 Kelvin. Next one. Again, everything is hardwired, and you can use existing wiring that you already have in place. Just use that same exact wiring if it looks, it still looks to be in good shape. And then you've got we've got a couple of, we've talked a little bit of the DMX, how you integrate with that, but we've also got Amazon, Alexa and Google Home Assistant. So you can, talk to them and have them change your lights if you prefer. And you also have, sorry, someone's at the door. Michael, can you take over for a second? I'm the only one. I'm the only one in the office. Hang on. It's a UPS.
No worries. No worries. So yeah, so we do have Amazon Alexa and Google Assistant, or Hey Google now, within the ecosystem, so you can recall those automations and control those fixtures via that if it's your preferred UI. As we mentioned, millions of colors. Maybe it's attractive to someone, maybe it's not. This is a fantastic white fixture. In addition to giving them that full color capability. And like Suman said, if someone's interested in just white light, they don't have to use the color, but we still render amazingly good white light with those fixtures. The ease of installation, I can't reinforce this enough. This is just like wiring any other landscape fixture. There's no additional wiring, and you can kind of lay it out in the way that makes the most sense for you as the installer, whether that be running them in series or running them out in a star pattern. That is all taken into account in the technology. And the fact of the matter is we have a very complete product offering. This, like I said, this started out as 3 fixtures and a transformer. And through feedback, we're now up at that kind of 13 fixture level, but it's always something we're looking to expand. And just even beyond the landscape product, like I said, the MyWAC app is supporting more than just colorscaping. Right now it's supporting our tape and sheet lighting LED product, both color changing and tunable white. So it's definitely extensible for both the landscape space and others. So that product is the tape lighting can be done class 2, so it can be considered low voltage if you see that as a way to expand your offering. I'm sure that's something Todd would be happy to talk to you about.
Yeah, and just one thing to add. Someone's asking about a few questions on the water intrusion. So all of our stuff is IP67, isn't that right, Todd? Or
60, some of it's 66, some is 67. Right.
Thank you. Yep. So the wall sconce in particular, we do have some product pages we can share with you in a few minutes. But let's see here.
One of the questions in the chat, Suman, that I've just seen was it had to do with corrosion and how that affects the working of the fixture in the event the wire, the connection area gets corroded in the signal to the fixture. How does that play into it? Can you speak on that?
Yeah, I guess 2 ways. So you would still have to follow your best practices, make sure you're waterproof, gel back your connectors and, all that good stuff. The fact that we're still using, the AC signal, means that there's less of a chance of, corrosion versus if you're using pure DC. I think some companies have tried using DC, which it would solve a lot of problems for a lot of people. Make the transformers, much smaller. You basically use a laptop power brick at that point. But the reason you don't do that is because it essentially enforces a polarity, and then that automatically, if you remember your, I guess, 8th grade science, that's going to start corroding I forgot if it's the anode or cathode, but one of the terminals will start corroding faster than the other one. We don't have to deal with that, but you still have to follow all your normal precautions. Yeah. The other thing I mentioned here is, okay, so I know yes, we Michael and I both work in the IoT team and all that fun stuff, but one thing that is, I want to make this point that we don't think of it as here come we have this cool app, come download it and come use it. Like, that's not the point. The goal at the end of the day is Is your fixture doing what it wants? Are you setting the scenes, a schedule, how you want it to do? And think of the app as, at worst, it's simply a tool for you to set up your schedules for the end user. And the end user would never have to use the app, and it would not hurt our feelings at all. Like, that's not the point. Or, at best, the end user does want to use the app to change things, and then, we'll try and make it as user-friendly as possible. But our focus is always on how you're installing it and how can we make sure that we are reducing the time it takes for you to install it. So everything that we have so far, the way that the panel is designed, the fact that you don't need the phone or Wi-Fi or anything in order to test your fixtures you just installed is all designed for that purpose. It's designed for the installer to make sure they know it's working. And then later on, you can get your technology guy in there and he can worry about, how to provision the transformers, if there's good Wi-Fi signal and all that. It can happen later on, but not in the middle of an install.
So I can go ahead and address a couple of the other chat items here. Suman, is there more you wanted to cover, or should we get to?
No, I was thinking we should just quickly run through the product pages, just so people, for some of you that have not had a chance to see any of the product yet in person. So we'll show our accents to begin with. I'm not going to read everything off here, but if you're used to WAC lighting, you got the dynamic beam changing. At the back, you twist it and you can narrow or widen your beam. Obviously, like I said, these have both the tunable white and the RGB, and they're individual addressable. They will go down to advertised as 15 volts, but they will go down to 9 volts AC. You get the shroud, the standard shroud, and then you can buy the long shroud as well. This is our power accent. As I see, if you notice we didn't put the numbers on the red, green, but so from a white standpoint, the lumens are going to be similar to the grand accent, but on the red and green, it's going to be double what you see on the grand accent. And I believe by default, it comes with a 45-degree lens, but you've got 3 other options, 15, 25, and then 60 as well. All right. And wall wash, and those are actual proper, shots. We didn't Photoshop those. Got your in-ground, and you can buy, a rock guard, a pour kit as an accessory. And then here, I guess a lot of people have asked, can we make them different colors on the top and the bottom? We thought of it, but we thought of it too late. So we will have that version some point in the future, but right now it's a single driver only. So they will have to be the same, both up and down. But what you can do is you can control them individually. So I could have up only or down only, or do both up and down, which is what you're seeing in the pictures here by default. All right. What else we got? Got your hardscape. So you got 2 flavors, the 7-inch and a 12-inch. And then now you got your path lights. So your tiki, and then your balance, and then you're going to see the ledge. And then we've got our tape. Right, and then that's the controller that Michael was talking about earlier. So that goes in between the tap. One end goes to the tap on the transformer, 15 volts AC, and the other end goes to the LEDs. You can see the flat connector here, and that goes and connects to the LED strip.
Yeah, one thing that we heard a lot last week was the drastic improvement of this flat connector versus our previous outdoor pallet product. So you can see here we use the same style of connector at both ends of the tape. So you can connect these together in line. There's no separate wire bypassing those strips. That was often a very hard thing to hide and conceal during install. So that's been improved. As well as this tape can be cut every 2 inches at the end of a run. And then we provide a cap and silicone sealant. So if you have custom run lengths that don't meet our 1, 5, 10, 15, or 25 foot lengths, you can shorten them every 2 inches and then install that sealed cap on the end for a nice finished look.
All right, just gonna go through some of the questions here. Yep, legacy lighting can be controlled. You can control zone 2 will show up in the app, and you can dim that up and down, both in the app and also on the transformer panel. And I think it will go down to 1%.
Suman, here's one of the questions that has come across. Does the app have multi-user cloud-based site control type of features? Meaning, can a contractor control this product offsite for a homeowner on the homeowner's behalf?
Yeah, I'll jump in on that one. That one and the automation themes by holiday or for holidays. You know, one of the nice things and one of the advantages that we have as WAC is we own the entirety of the ecosystem. If we were to go out and partner with someone to do this technology, we'd be kind of stuck with what we can get. And so specifically to address those questions specifically, right now it is one account, one login per location. However, we've gotten that feedback multiple times, and we're looking to implement a very thoughtful theme where the installer can retain that access on their account while transferring it to the customer, and they can retain that control, or the customer can give an installer access separately. On the schedule for holidays, that's another one we've heard a lot. And we are currently in the process of architecting a solution that's gonna fit that need. So not things we have currently in what's released, but something that is definitely on our roadmap for both of those specifically. And Suman may never forgive me for throwing that out there, but those are two features that we have been asked for numerous times. And also I'll go back and say, you know, we don't, as the IoT team, we don't just heave a product over the wall to sales and then walk on to our next product. We're always looking for ways to kind of continuously evolve that product and make it work better for those markets. So do keep that feedback coming. I saw another message about blue lumens being lower than other colors. I'm not a photometric expert. I do know that the human eye is drastically less sensitive to blue light, and I'm quite certain that other products have the same situation. It's just the nature of blue light that you have to pump a lot more out in order for it to be visible. Suman, can you?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think we haven't recently looked at you know, the other companies, but I remember that when we did look at it maybe a year or 2 years ago, the blue was, you know, it's kind of similar across the industry where it's definitely on the lower end. Yep.
Yeah. And then there was another question.
Yep.
I'm sorry. There was one more question about fixtures, you know, running through a series of colors, you know, like 15 seconds, 30 seconds cycling. It's also something that we've gotten feedback on. We're kind of in the process of prioritizing that. But we have heard that feedback, so I just wanted to acknowledge that is something that we have heard about as well.
Yeah. One question. Let's see. When it comes to the MyWAC app under automation, does it allow for programming of themes to come on a certain times of the year, like calendar based? Can I pick a holiday theme for Christmas and to come on December 1st, for example? So you want to take that one, Michael?
Yeah, so I mentioned it briefly a bit earlier. You know, that's other feedback we've gotten. We're currently speccing out a way to do that. That's as useful as we can make it. We absolutely have the capability within the products. We just need to be sure that the experience you have setting that up is as good as we can make it. So that's something we're working on currently. Are the strip lights COB? You are going to see, I can actually scroll back here. It is not COB in the way that you see a single strip of light down the center. We do have diodes behind here. They do diffuse very well, you know, but it's very, very little dioding on it from what we've seen. But you know, with RGB and WW, we can't just do a very heavy phosphorescent coating on here that looks like one solid strip of lights. There was another question about two 25-foot sections. You would have to use two controller boxes, but within the app, you could group them. You could create a group that's those two, and it would behave to the user or in your schedules like one strip of lights.
There's one more question here, Michael. Let's see.
We had one on the wall sconces and the IP value of the up-down lights, and those are IP66.
Oh, will we see a 1-inch or 2-inch indicator light? So as soon as we can miniaturize the technology to make it small enough, we will absolutely have it. That is the, you can see where, while it looks great, I mean, I can tell you, Todd maybe doesn't want me to say this, but we're not very happy with the size of our driver, and we are working actively to, you know, miniaturize it, because that's what's going to get it into those fixtures. And so we will be, you know, we'll definitely have it. I don't know when exactly, but we're working towards it.
Yeah. And to answer the question, I believe someone asked what the gap is here. That's about 2¼ inches if you add together. It's actually less than that, because this will be set inside. So probably 1¾ inches is about the length of this gap between strips.
And then a really good question on 2.45. You'd be surprised at how many times we run into this issue. Sometimes you know, our tech support is essentially like, I'd say 50% of it is just dealing with somebody's networking issues. You know, how they set up their routers, and there's no fault of our own product. So generally all IoT product, and especially our product, is all going to be 2.4 gigahertz, because that gives you a longer range. We don't need the extra bandwidth, the massive bandwidth that the 5 gigahertz provides. So we don't, you know, benefit from, you know, we're not streaming any video content on here. So 2.4 is plenty enough for what we do.
We had another question come in regarding the length. The question is 25-foot the max run of linear light with a single power feed?
Yes, right now, unfortunately, yes, that is the longest run. We will be working to increase that. Yep, this is our first attempt at adding a tape. We've always made tape, but this is the first time we're doing a tape with the transformer. So our limit's right now at 25 feet.
Okay.
Yes. Question is, if you have a bank of transformers, can you use an Ethernet switch to split into multiple transformers? Yes. If that switch will all provide its own unique IP addresses, which it should. If a switch is connected to a router, you absolutely can do that. In fact, that's probably a smart way to do it, versus trying to home run everything.
Yep. And I know I'm sharing the slide on the Colorscaping cylinder. Someone actually has been asked twice. Sorry if it was the same person. The width of the wall bracket on that wall sconce, I can certainly look up the dimension, but it is right around 1 inch, if I'm not mistaken. It's actually quite narrow.
I know one of the big considerations with this product when we made it initially in the landscape lighting line was to make sure that that bracket was not wider than a pool cage structure that is often found in the state of Florida. So it does not hang over the edges of that metal pool cage. So I assume this one would be the same.
The entire width. Yeah, the entire width of this back boss that mounts is 1 inch and 1/16.
Yeah.
So.
We had a question about the wall sconce being available in white. I believe it is. Yes, it is.
Trying to see if we have a product picture. We don't, unfortunately. But yeah, it definitely comes in white. I have seen it with my own eyes.
Yeah.
We had a question about the beam angle adjustment with the wall sconce and if it's adjustable, which
it is not.
I don't believe it's not at this point, right? Yeah.
It's not.
Here's a question on inventory that I can speak on. This product officially probably has a launch date of March 1st is when the first week of March is when we're going to get the majority of our inventory in stock in our warehouses. But we did have a dozen, 15 distributors across the country who basically got into a pre-buy situation with us, and some of those distributors already have stock and are selling product, and jobs have been already sold for those distributors who bought in early to the product launch.
We have a question here. Will smart fixtures need to do any type of updates via the smart controller? So we would love to not have to do updates. However, we do have the ability to update at the fixture level via the transformer without you wouldn't have to move the fixtures, you wouldn't have to take them anywhere. They would upgrade across the existing wiring. So if there is a feature that needs to be implemented at the fixture level, we certainly have the ability to make that as painless as we can. And our update feature within the app allows for essentially a one-tap upgrade. So you wouldn't have to go and upgrade every fixture individually. You go in, there's an update available at the transformer level. It would apply those updates to the transformer as well as anything else that's connected to it. Right. The transformers do have an external antenna. So I don't think it's in the pictures here. However, on the left-hand side of the transformer, there is you can't see it here. It's actually over here on this side. There's a small 2-inch black puck, kind of external antenna on the side of the transformer for the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. You can
see it in the renderings.
Yeah, it's that little guy there that kind of sticks out the side. Now one thing best practice wise, if I can share best practices here, is that we recommend, and it says on the inside of the door, that you maintain a 12-inch spacing between those transformers. That's primarily so those antennas have some room to breathe. If you stack these transformers, really adjacent to each other, that's gonna degrade your signal strength. So give them a little room to breathe.
Looking to see if we have any other questions that have come in that we have not addressed.
How far out to give permissions to a programmer? I've learned a long time ago to not name names, not date dates. But it's certainly something that we have gotten a lot of feedback on. Not only in this channel, as we have more and more smart products within our ecosystem, that need is brought up a lot. So I can tell you we have a specification document. We just need to prioritize it, develop it, and I wouldn't want to give you the first cut of it. We want to, lesson learned. We want to test the pants off it before we release it to the wild. But it is definitely something that we have not even on a back burner, kind of on a front burner. 600-watt transformer.
Yes, we're working on it. We haven't overcome the. We haven't been able to build it in a way that we would like. We would be proud to make it part of our portfolio. So we're still working on it. I know that in the past, I think our 600 watt transformers were basically two 300 watt transformers. So, worst case, we have a solution, but we are working on this, and we're working on the thermals.
We have a question here on the warranty, and the warranty is the same as the WAC landscape lighting line at 10 years.
If a client needs to go out far for fixtures and needs to put another controller in further from the house, would a repeater work best, or what are Wi-Fi external options that are better? Okay. I mean, there's multiple ways to do this. So one of our biggest installation, in fact, our test site was 27 transformers and about 230 fixtures, or 237 fixtures. And the way we did that one is we did like an Eero mesh, a mesh wireless network. So what that means is that there's the main node that's right plugged into the router, and then next to the bank of transformers, we installed basically a repeater, or like, they're basically a mesh node, I guess is the fancy term for them. And those talk to the main node or to the next closest node over 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi. Now, you could, as an alternate, also you could physically wire those mesh nodes back to the main or back to a switch, right? So that would essentially provide, make it, you're no longer depending on Wi-Fi at that point. You're depending on wired connection to the mesh node. And then from the mesh node, you can still do Wi-Fi to the transformers if you don't want to run, that, cable to each transformer's Ethernet jack. That's another option. Obviously, the third option is you just run Ethernet cable to every single transformer.
Okay. I think we had a couple other questions come in. Is the tape cuttable? Is one of the questions that came in? Just
yeah. So the tape is cuttable at the end of the run. However, those end pieces, we would have to check. I don't believe they're usable because of the connectors that we use.
Yes.
Those watertight connectors. You can seal off the ends of them, but you're not really going to be able to use those right. Excess pieces like we can with some of our non-IP rated indoor product.
Okay.
Yeah. Tech support available during working hours. Yeah, our tech support, we've been training them for the last few weeks, so they are. We've also been creating some video content that will be out for you guys, for everyone, that helps better. You don't have to have attended one of these sessions. It's a much more concise video that we're going to put out that'll have all this information, easily digestible. And yeah, tech support's available right now to call. And, you can also call your rep or your sales guy, Todd, Adam, or Chuck, and they know how to get a hold of us. Unfortunately.
We've got the hotline. Yes. Well,
I replied to this in the chat. There was a question about provisioning using Wi-Fi Direct and 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi. We do use a Bluetooth technology to provision the transformers. So it's a QR code driven provisioning process. You open the app, say add a device. It confirms the Wi-Fi you want to connect to. You scan the QR code that's on the inside of the door. The app connects to the transformer, gives it all the credentials, and connects it to the network. So we no longer have any of the shenanigans of find the transformer's access point, connect to it, go back to the app. It's all been streamlined. And then as far as 2.4 versus 5 gigahertz, Suman mentioned it a little earlier. The range on 2.4 is far superior, especially through walls and through buildings. So the range is far superior, and really we don't need the additional bandwidth that 5 gigahertz provides. So we've chosen to stick with that 2.4 because it really benefits us from both those perspectives.